Hello, I'm Porschia Parker Griffin, and I want to welcome you to the Career 101 podcast, a place for ambitious professionals and seasoned executives who want an edge in their career. We're talking about all of the things you were never taught or told when it comes to career growth, development, and change. Now, let's get into it. Today, we are talking about LinkedIn profile optimization with Ana Goehner. Ana Goehner is a certified career coach, LinkedIn profile writer, and LinkedIn learning instructor who guides professionals in optimizing their LinkedIn presence. Her expertise is recognized in publications like Time Magazine, HuffPost, and LinkedIn News. She's dedicated to helping introverts succeed in authentic ways that play to their strengths. Hi, Ana. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well, and I'm so happy to be here talking to you today, Portia.
We are thrilled to have you, Ana, and I'm excited to discuss LinkedIn profile optimization. But first, we want to know a little more about you. So tell me about 7-year-old Ana.
Sure. So, 7-year-old Anna was a very curious girl. She didn't grow up with much. I had very little. I grew up in Brazil, and I didn't have a lot of opportunities growing up. So, I had to make the most with the things that I had at the time. I loved playing outside. I had many friends, and that curiosity that I had as a child is what led me to be where I am today because I had this drive for learning. Even though I didn't have a lot of resources, I always had this drive for learning. And then I love being a resource to other people. Like I not 7-year old, but when I was around 10 or 11, I started learning English by myself. And then I started helping other people understand words and things like that. So I think the little girl, the curiosity and the drive in that little girl, it's what led me to where I am today.
So, what did 7-year-old Ana want to be when she grew up?
Oh goodness. I always had a huge respect for my teachers. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an art teacher because or physical education because I always loved sports. I always loved like playing and running and things like that. But I feel like the artistic side of me, that was like the number one thing. So I wanted to be an art teacher and I loved school. That was like one of the big things that age at 7 years old. And I think teacher was like the number one thing I wanted to be just because I just love seeing my art teacher. It was just like a fun class, I would say, even though some people didn't like it. For me, it was like one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, and you talked earlier about your drive for learning and helping other
Yeah.
people. So I definitely see how being an art teacher could have been appealing. So tell us about some highlights or pivotal moments in your career before you started your business.
So I started working really young, and I am not an exception. And I want to explain this to people. In Brazil, it's very normal for you to be like in high school, going to school at night, and then having a full-time job during the day. So for me, when I was around 17, I finished high school, and right away I had a full-time job. My first job was in a newspaper at the time. We were really transitioning everything to online, and the paper ones, it was going away. So that was my first job, and I stayed in this job for almost 3 years. And then I went to college in Brazil. So I had different jobs, a couple different jobs there full time before I even came to the United States. So the pivotal moment for me was knowing everything I knew in Brazil. Like I studied there, I was there until after college. I had work experience there. It was packing my things and embracing an opportunity that I had and coming to the US. And then here I went to school. I was granted, of course, a work permit and I could work for a corporation in the US. And that's exactly what I did. So that was a huge pivotal moment for me because I had to learn basically from scratch how to create a resume in English, how to write a cover letter at the time, and how to interview. I had no idea. So it was tough. I remember like going to libraries, and because I didn't have money, I didn't have any resources, so just trying to learn. And so I learned a lot in the beginning for the goodness of other people because I didn't have money to invest. And that was like learning to navigate, and I did navigate corporate America for more than 10 years. Learning to navigate those waters were really hard for me because I'm an introvert, and I really had to learn in extrovert country and environment. I would say a lot of the workplaces that I worked were very extrovert, like meaning you have to be direct. You have to really be the loudest person in the room because otherwise you would always be at the bottom. So I really had to learn how to advocate for myself. And there was a lot of learning, trial and learning, as I like to say, but everything led me to where I am today. And then during the pandemic, I had health issues, and I finally decided to become a career coach. I did a lot of studying, a lot of informational interviews before I really took the leap. And it's been wonderful. Being able to help people in this capacity it's really a gift, I would say.
I definitely agree. So, Anna, what motivated you to become a coach?
So it's something that, like I said, from the past that I've seen like other people doing that for me. And my friends always came to me for like career advice. I've always tend to attract like people towards coming to me and talking about what's going on. And I was already working HR. And part of working HR is a lot of times coaching people pretty much because you have to say no because there's so many laws sometimes guiding whatever you're going to do that you have to be the coach, mentor, try to lead people through processes. So I was already doing that kind of work. And then like I said, unfortunately, I had to deal with cancer, and I decided that I wanted to serve people in a different way. I wanted to be more like hands-on, one-on-one. I didn't want it to be on other people's schedules. And I just thought that was like the best path for me. And it's been a really fantastic experience.
Sure, I'm sure. And what I can tell about you, Anna, is that you overcome challenges, moving to a different country, learning another language, being in what I call the corporate jungle, and
Mhm.
then also dealing with health issues and all of that. I want to commend you for all of that. So, back in episode 11, we discussed how to network on LinkedIn. Why do you think LinkedIn is important?
LinkedIn is important for everybody. And introvert, extrovert, no matter how you see yourself, because there's not like in this day and age, there's no such a thing as only having a resume, especially if you're targeting corporate roles and many other roles. Everybody basically is on LinkedIn these days, right? You have your resume. For now, we're still use resumes, right? So you have your resume. The next thing a recruiter is going to do is look at your LinkedIn profile. They're either going to go do a Google search on your name, or they're going to go straight to LinkedIn and look at your LinkedIn profile. Because why are they doing this? They want to learn more about you because your resume usually is like 2 pages, right? In 2 pages, if you have more than 10 years of work experience, that's not enough to tell your story. So LinkedIn is important because it's a place where people can go to learn more about you beyond your resume. And networking, and I'll say this because I am an introvert, and it's always been hard for me to show up to a big event, a big conference by myself, and trying to be like this bubbly person talking to everybody when I know no one in the room. But online is being like life-changing experience for me. Networking online is not this monster that sometimes we make it in our minds. And I'll say, as an introvert, and I know many introverts feel the same way about overthinking. Oh, what am I going to say? What am I going to write? This person's not going to reply back to me. And then you start talking, like your mind start talking, and you don't take any action. And even if you take action and somebody doesn't reply, you take that personally, thinking that, oh, maybe I said something I shouldn't. And the thing is, a lot of people, they're not very active on LinkedIn, or their inbox is full of messages. It might not have anything to do with you personally. Maybe you just sent a follow-up message. Maybe they didn't even see your first message. Networking doesn't need to be this big thing. And honestly, networking is one of the many ways that you can bring opportunities to you. If you just sit around and wait for opportunities to come, you might sit around for a long time, because in this current market, you have to go after other people, networking, learn about an industry, or if you're changing careers, it's really important to do informational interviews. Try to learn more about that profession before you take the leap, because sometimes people think, oh, I want to do this, but they don't do a lot of research. They don't talk to people doing those jobs, and then they might get a job in that field, and then they realize, I don't like this. Then they spend all that time switching careers to something that they realize is not really what they wanted to do. So networking is also like important, even if you are an introvert, to have connections. We as humans, we need human connection. No matter how much time you want to be let alone doing your own thing, we thrive as humans by having human connection. So I highly recommend online networking if you don't feel like going to a big conference, because that is one of the best ways to get to know people.
Very well said. I completely agree. I'm another introvert checking in, Anna, and I do agree. I think that online networking is perhaps not as overwhelming as in-person networking, because it's not necessarily the spotlight and 20 people looking at you at one time. You can control it a bit more, and I think it's a bit more one-on-one. A long time ago, LinkedIn had this career expert program, and I was one of their selected career experts. And I remember this stat, and you made me think of it, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Their stat back then was that over 90% of recruiters are going to check you out on LinkedIn after they review your resume, but before they decide that they want to interview you. I think it's probably over 90% now. Would you, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Like I used to work right next to the recruiting team. We used to, and that's exactly it. There's your resume, but then it's okay. The other thing also is to cross information, right? Because I remember I worked for a big career like services out there, and there was a lot of times that the resume would say, let's say, I want a finance job, and then their LinkedIn profile would be something completely different. Then is this even the same person? Like, why do they have such a different LinkedIn profile? Or there's something in their resume, let's say, and again, this is not, yes, everybody has gaps are good, but let's say they have a gap, but they didn't add anything in the resume to explain the gap. Maybe the LinkedIn profile is going to have some sort of explanation, maybe in the about section, maybe even like in the experience section. There's going to be something there. So that helps the recruiter understand. And also, like, it helps them not waste a lot of time, because they have such short time to look at resumes and recruit people. So it's like a few questions that they may not even need to ask you. Instead, they might ask you something else to learn more about your experience, instead of, oh, okay, so what were you doing these 2 years that you didn't work, or something along those lines. So I do believe now I see LinkedIn as being like the biggest thing, that a resume good, LinkedIn next. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. You made some points that I think it's just important for me to echo for our audience too. It's very important for there to be that alignment between your resume and your LinkedIn profile, to your point, so that it looks like the same person, the same goals are there. I tell our clients it shouldn't be a carbon copy. You should not cut and paste your resume into LinkedIn. Do not do that. It's a different tone. There are different ways to write it. There are different keywords and other indicators for LinkedIn, but there should be that alignment. So thank you for mentioning that. And
Yep.
then something else that you said that I end up telling a lot of our clients in terms of the importance, really attracting opportunities to you. A lot of people call it the hidden job market, but I tell people, especially today, every job is not posted online. So many companies are going to go to their internal recruiting team or their external recruiting firm and say, hey, find us our next marketing manager, right? And these recruiters are using LinkedIn's recruiting platform and just going to find people because they don't want it in the public domain. They don't want to get 300, 500 resumes. They want to go find who they're looking for. And you want them to find you for the types of positions that you're looking for. So thank you for echoing that because those are some things I have to underscore all the time, Anna.
I experienced that myself. Honestly, like even today, as we speak, like a few minutes ago, I look at my LinkedIn profile and somebody sent me some job opportunity. And this is the way. Like there's a lot of jobs out there they're not going to post, because as soon as they post, they get like 500 applications depending on the job. In a few days they get so many applications that recruiters are always proactive trying to find people on the platform. Yeah, and just wanted to echo what you said too, because it makes total sense.
I agree. In my years as a coach, I've seen many different LinkedIn strategies and tactics. What do you think are some good components of a LinkedIn strategy?
One of the best components of a LinkedIn strategy, and I might sound like a broken record, but it's true, keywords. You have to have the right keywords in your profile. And that would be your headline, that you'll be all throughout your experience section, like your job titles. Your skills also are a big deal. So basically your entire profile, because these are the main ones, but then you start picking up from your about, from different areas, your volunteer, different areas of your profile. So keywords are really important. I'll say this because think of LinkedIn as a big database. It has over 1 billion people's profiles there. But it's this big database where recruiters go and they use searches to try to find candidates. So keywords are a must. And I'll say this over and over because you can have this beautiful profile, but if the keywords are completely off and not really talking to the job that you want, the recruiter might not even see your profile. Even if they look at your profile, they might not even choose to call you or DM you. So yeah, keywords are really important. And I would also say what I'm seeing is like a profile that is complete, right? Not just, oh, I don't care, but I don't know what to write in the about section, so I'm going to leave that blank. The experience section, oh, I just need the job titles or, the dates. You don't need to explain again what you have done because it's in your resume. Skills, put just 10 skills there and that's all good. It's like you need to have a complete profile with specific keywords.
Agreed, agreed. So optimization is another word that gets thrown around a lot when it comes to LinkedIn. From your perspective, what does LinkedIn optimization mean?
Optimization, again, it means you have a complete profile that has keywords for the specific job you are looking for. If you tell me that you have 3 different jobs that you're looking for, think about how you can optimize that profile to be more towards one of those jobs instead of trying to okay, completely different things, right? 3 completely different things. Because again, it's a database, meaning you have to reuse keywords that are already inside the LinkedIn database. That's how you have to build your profile as much as possible, of course. Think about, let's say, for talent acquisition, think about the keywords that are going to be related to that. And as you're writing your profile, try as soon as you start typing, see if that shows up. Because if that shows up, it means it is inside the database. So optimizing means you are using every section wisely with keywords, but also trying to tell your story in a way that enhances what's in your resume. It's not a copy paste. And I'm so glad you mentioned that because it is your chance to tell your story with bigger paragraphs, more words, instead of trying to write like a tiny summary. You have more of a chance to explain about the company that you work for, what you did there, like how you improve a process. you have more characters to tell that story instead of this one line, improve something by 20% by doing X, Y, and Z. You can tell your story better with a LinkedIn profile. And when we talk about optimizing, what I also want to say, so if you have a public LinkedIn profile, when you do a Google search on your name, your profile is one of the first things that are going to show up on that search. So see your LinkedIn profile as your website. Like, you don't need to have a website, like as somebody looking for a job, you don't need to have a website, but LinkedIn is like that website that is going to tell your story more about you, how you can bring value to a company, what you have done in the past, what you're doing now, and where you want to go.
Yeah, yeah. I echo all of that. And we've even had clients who were interested in entrepreneurship, and I told them, and they were successful with this, before even putting all the pressure of getting a website up for your business, if you can just get your LinkedIn profile optimized, you can start getting clients or doing business that way. And that has worked for many of our clients who are entrepreneurial. So, Anna, in your opinion, how would someone know if their LinkedIn profile was optimized? The Career 101 podcast is brought to you by Fly High Coaching, where we help our clients soar to their full potential. More and more professionals and executives are setting out to achieve their career goals. But without the right support, it can be difficult, if not impossible. Whether you need career coaching, interview coaching, or a program with a professional resume and a LinkedIn makeover, we're here to help. Could your career use some 911? It's not uncommon for executives and professionals to feel a little overwhelmed, stuck, or confused when it comes to their career or income. There are other people who want to know how to ramp up their success, consistently achieve their goals, and make a bigger impact. After hundreds of clients came to me with the same issues, I started recording the patterns for the Career 911 Masterclass, solving the top 5 challenges executives and professionals have. In the free masterclass, I share the exact strategies our clients use to tackle the top 5 problems. Check out the link in our show notes.
If there are certain functions on LinkedIn, it depends if you pay, if you don't pay, there's the whole premium thing. But if you are able to see the people who are visiting your profile, and then, recruiters coming up, recruiters showing up, that means you might be in the right path. You just need to try to understand why they might not be contacting you if you apply for a job or something like that. But I would say, like, by increasing visibility, if you see that more people are coming to your profile, that might mean you're becoming more visible. Like, things might be working. If you start getting contacted, connection requests by the right people, or you end up sending connection requests and people start accepting. There are many ways to know that your profile is like, hey, it's bringing in the right people, or recruiters, like it's getting recruiters' attention. I would say that might be a way. But also, going back again to the keywords, it's just thinking about what would be the right keywords to add to your profile that align with the job that you want to do next. And I'll say this, and I know there's a lot of people out there saying the same thing, but here again is, you have to create a profile for the job you want, not necessarily for the one you have. So always think ahead. Even if you're not looking for a job, always think about where you want to take your career, because LinkedIn is also about career development. It's not just a place for job searching, right? So think about where you want to take your career. See, if you want to become a manager or you want to become a director, think about how you can include sentences, results, and things that will help you get to the next step for your career.
Great tips, great tips. I like that you mentioned LinkedIn Premium, because that question comes up a lot. We actually had a whole episode 75 on is LinkedIn Premium worth it? So for those of you who have that question, check out that episode. My short answer, and we'll see if Ana agrees, is that it's not necessarily mandatory if you have an optimized profile, right? If you're doing
Yeah.
what we're talking about today, and perhaps you work with a professional like Ana or our firm to help you with your LinkedIn profile, I don't think premium is necessarily mandatory. For some people, it's a nice to have, but you don't have to pay for premium.
Yeah, this is something that I even say in my programs and also like on my website, that I help people, but I don't tell them to get premium. I just don't, because I don't think it's needed. But like I said, it depends on the functions that you want. Sometimes what you can do too, if you want to try, I believe LinkedIn still offers like a 30-day free trial or something along those lines. You might want to try that and see if it works. But optimization means really trying to figure out how to write your profile in a way that speaks to a specific job that has the keywords related to that specific job. And I don't tell people to get premium. If you want, if you want to try, good. If you want to just see how it works, if that's a good thing, great. But this is like copy on my website. I don't tell people to get premium. So we're on the same page.
Yes, thank you for sharing that with us. That I'm sure you get asked a lot. That's why it's on your website. We get asked a lot. That's why we did a whole episode on it. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you've seen executives and professionals have with optimizing LinkedIn?
There's a lot of noise out there. And I'll say this, there's always one of the things is we have to post constantly to get noticed. And I'll say, yeah, maybe posting might bring you some visibility. And that's a maybe because the algorithm changes basically almost every week. But I would say that, again, optimizing the profile and writing a profile for the job you want, that's what's the visual, right? You might attract a recruiter, let's say you post something, but if the profile is not optimized, they're not going to stay, they're not going to contact you. So what I see as some of the biggest issues is writing your headline. It doesn't, you have less characters, and especially the first 60 ones are the ones that you need to help you stand out. So I would say the first 60 characters, try to like add whatever job title you want. Think about branding statement. Think about a couple skills that are really necessary for the job you want. The about section is another big one that a lot of people, it's not because you have 2,600 characters that make it any easy to write about yourself, because a lot of people have a hard time writing about themselves. But what should I write? How should I tell my story? So that's a big one. And even like the experience section, I would say, because they think it's just a copy paste from the resume, and it's not, because you have 2,000, at least 2,000 characters to just, you can write more. You can really give a snapshot of the company, especially if it's not a famous company. Or you can talk about the amount of people that were in the department that you were supporting, that you were helping in some capacity. So it really, that you were managing, right? Like tell me a little bit more about things that maybe are in your resume, but you have the chance to expand, to tell me a story. Use like a paragraph, not a bullet point. And I think those are the main ones. And also like skills, people don't really know how to use the skill section. Now we have up to 100, which is amazing. They increased the amount of skills, but it's still, people don't know. They think, depending on the job, I'm just gonna put Excel, Word, and things like that. And now, hey, think generative AI, think using ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever else you use. Think about different skills that might help you now, not stuff that you had 5, 10 years ago that we don't even like use anymore. So look at job descriptions and see what kind of skills are they asking. Is this something, and add to your profile, you got 100 skills. You don't need to use all of the 100 skills, but think about increasing up to maybe 70 that are really relevant to the job that you want. But I would say sometimes there is this, you have less characters in the headline, and that's one of the most important parts of your LinkedIn profile, because it's one of the first things that somebody reads as soon as they open your profile. They don't even need to open to start seeing the first 60 characters. And of course, like I said, the about section, a lot of people leave it blank or they just put like a sentence or a paragraph. And then the experience section, they think is just copy paste from the resume. So I think those are some of the main things that people have a hard time when it comes to their profiles.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I'll just zero in on one of them, the about section. Would love your thoughts on this too, what you think. But again, way back in the day when I was a career expert for LinkedIn, one of the stats they had was that over 80% of people are going to look at your about section and then make a determination on what they want to do. So, do they want to keep reading or scanning your profile? Do they want to send you a message? Are they going to go click away and look at someone else? So I always tell our clients that you really have to capture their attention in that about section and really speak to your background and lay the foundation for who you are, the value that you can bring to another organization, and really hook them there.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And you mentioned something that makes people need to know this. You have to make it skimmable because if you make this huge paragraph, like people are not going to read. You have to make it skimmable, like think of white spaces, maybe create headers. How do I bring value? Here, my results, how I bring value, and then create a paragraph that is easy to read. That's important too, because people, LinkedIn, it's in a way or another, is some sort of social media too, and people are scrolling, right? So they want to read, they want to, but you have to help them stop and want to read what you have to say.
Agreed. So, Anna, let's say that we have some listeners that are listening to what you're saying. Maybe they're listening to what I'm saying too, and they're like, this sounds great, but I'm overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. So, if someone knows that they want to optimize their LinkedIn profile, what are some first steps that they can take?
First, I would say, and I mentioned this before, you have to try to tune out the noise because there's a lot of noise on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people who call themselves coaches, LinkedIn strategists. They have no training. They are more like regurgitating what other people are saying. And they're not talking to you from experience, from working with people, from acquiring certifications, from studying, from all these different things. So I would say, try to tune out the noise. Maybe choose a person, or a few people that you build some sort of trust and try to figure out, okay, what I recommend and something that I do myself is do it by piece. Don't try to tackle the whole thing in one sitting. Okay, I'm sitting from a computer, I'm going to update the whole thing now, because that can be overwhelming. Because your about section, for example, you might need to take some time to write that down and try think about what you want to say, think about the keywords and all of that. So I would say try to tackle little by little every part. Okay, now I want to learn how can I optimize my headline. And then you do your research. Okay, what are the best ways to optimize my headline? And then you do that part. And then how can I write my about section? And then think about the keywords, like I said, think about creating headers, think about not writing these huge paragraphs. How can I optimize that? I do this a lot sometimes with my own profile. I have to update my profile now, but I'm going to tackle this like piece by piece rather than trying to just like in one sitting, trying to do everything that I need to do, because I feel like that's what overwhelms people. Because as soon as you try to do that, and again, one person is going to say, your headline should be this way. Somebody else is going to say it should be something completely different. And then you get confused and you try to combine both things. And then you realize that it doesn't work because nobody's coming to look at your profile or contact you or anything. So I feel like it's important to try to tackle this little by little instead of trying to do everything. If you're doing by yourself without any sort of like guidance from a professional, I would say try tackling like each piece like little by little. And there are a lot of good advice on LinkedIn from reputable people like you and me. And I'll say this because we're there, we are in the trenches, like we are educated, like we know what we're saying, we know what we're doing. And just okay, let me see what is here as free information that I can learn from this person and try to do that on my own. And I would say be careful with LinkedIn has AI to write your headline, but be careful with that because it's not now, as we record this, is not up to par to what you want to see in a headline. I would say a lot of times it's just going to do like your current job title at your company. And I don't recommend just living that way. I recommend doing something different. I have a blog, and my blog has a lot how to tackle each different section LinkedIn profile, so you can start there too. But I would say just don't try to do everything at once or get distracted with the noise with your feed, because then you're going to think this is too much. I can't do this. And the next thing, you don't have an optimized profile. And then you're just there waiting and nothing is happening.
Oh, Anna, you said a lot, and I agree with it all. I will put a bow on it by saying I agree that right now, LinkedIn's AI for your headline is not the best that you could do on your own or work with a professional to get. Also, I don't think that their AI for the resume is there yet either. I don't know if you've seen that, but we've had some potential clients come to us and say, hey, we did the LinkedIn AI resume thing and it customized it for this job, and the formatting and the development just wasn't there. It will probably get there one day, but right now, utilize some other resources, some professional help, and all of that good stuff. So, Anna, tell us more about your business.
So I offer 3 services right now as we record the podcast. The 2 are LinkedIn related, and 1 is more overall career coaching. The LinkedIn Star Audit, as I like to call it, it's me. I'm going to record you a personalized video up to 30 minutes, and I'm going to go over every single section of your profile. And I'm going to tell you exactly how you can make modifications to make it better, to optimize. And then I have a bunch of bonuses to help you move forward with that profile and do the work yourself. The other one is the LinkedIn Superstar Method. And this is my done for you service, meaning I will do the work for you. I would do your banner, I would write your profile, I would do everything, and also give you guidance on how you can job search. Both of my services, I guide people on how to job search on LinkedIn. But the superstar method is the one that I do the work for you. And then I give you some guidance on how you can move forward, because the profile is not like this random static thing that you set and forget it. No, you have to from time to time go there and make tweaks, change keywords, change your headline and things like that. So I like to teach people how to fish, but then if they still having trouble, they can come back to me and we can go back and I'll help you fish again.
Yes.
And because I think that's important, right? Our LinkedIn changes, like I said, almost like every week there's an algorithm changing, but it's not just the algo that changes, it's also the way that they have the things. Now the whole thing is video, but then I don't know what the next thing is going to be. They keep changing things. And the third service that I offer is coaching, but it's more like a one-off. If you have a question, if you're dealing with a problem, like you just said something that happens a lot, like the resume. Oh, I just optimized this resume with this AI tool, but like nothing is happening. That's because your resume is not speaking to anything in particular. That's why recruiters are not even seeing that resume. Or if they are, they're not picking up the phone and calling you. So it's more like a one-off or as many times as you need to talk to me. And we talk about resume, interview. It's more like an overall coaching that we can talk about 1 or 2 topics per call. So yeah, those are the things I offer.
Well, great. We're going to be providing a link to your website and your social channels in our show notes so people can find you online. But now, Anna, I want to ask you our final question that we ask all of our guests. How do you think executives or professionals can get a positive edge in their career?
One word for you: learning. Oh, like as LinkedIn, it's all over, always be learning. I feel like we, in this day and age where things are so quick to change, learning and be adaptable, right? I feel like learning is part of being adaptable, but I want to enhance my answer a little bit because I feel like it's not just learning, is learning and practicing. Because information is free, we can learn as much as we want, but if you don't put something into practice, that learning doesn't really move the needle for you, doesn't help you grow in your career, doesn't help you grow in your life, or even in your job search. So learning is important, but also is being adaptable, practicing what you learn.
I agree. So, Anna, you have shared a lot of tips with us today, and I'm sure that our listeners can use it to be more confident with their LinkedIn profiles. We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
This episode was brought to you by the Bravebird Career Alliance, the go-to membership designed for seasoned executives and ambitious professionals with everything you need for career planning, strategy, training, and support. Thank you again for listening to the Career 101 podcast. I hope you have at least one key takeaway that you can use in your own career. If you enjoyed hanging out with us, please rate, subscribe, and share this podcast. Until next time, here's to your success.